What is up, my dudes? Tystra here, back again with another Genshin Impact video, and this is gonna be a little bit different. And the reason being is because we're gonna talk about kind of like the boss scaling for Genshin Impact, and this is kind of unscripted, so bear with me. I'm gonna kind of be rambling on a little bit, and I'm gonna put some gameplay in the background to kind of show you guys some of these bosses. But let's go ahead and get started here. But before that, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell to be notified when my newest videos come out. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get started. And I do have a little notes here on the side that I have for the bosses. So bear with me if I look away for a moment. That's why. So I'm here to talk about kind of the power scaling of the bosses, really. And honestly, I want to say that the bosses that we have currently, with the Pyro Hypostasis, the Magu Genki, are fantastic bosses. I love them in Inazuma, and I think that they're good with difficulty slash not difficult, if that makes sense. They're moderate bosses, which makes sense, and it's perfect balance. However, when people first started playing Genshin Impact, these bosses, this difficulty of a boss was not in Genshin Impact really, except for Dvalin, and I'm gonna kind of go over that here really quick. So we're gonna first talk about the field bosses. Now we have 5 different typing hypostases, or whatever you want to call them. We have 2 Regisvines. We have Oceanid. We have Primo Geovashape and Magu Genki. Sorry, I kind of stumbled there a little bit. But we're only missing 2 typings of hypostasis, and we're missing the water hypostasis, which has been announced for 2.1, and a dendro hypostasis, but we are not doing dendro bosses as of yet. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at these hypostases in general. We have the first one, which was the Animo hypostasis, which I feel is very easy, especially it being in Mondstadt. Now, again, Mondstadt is the starting area, so it makes sense that the Animo hypostasis and even the Electro hypostasis are very easy. They have 2 accounts that I really tell people to really look out for. Animo hypostasis, the one that I say to really kind of look out for, just in case like you're going and trying to hit it as hard as you can at close range, is those tornadoes. The tornadoes are kind of annoying. And then for the electro hypostasis, you got to look out for the spinning around electro move. You guys know it's like an electro beam. And we'll go over these boss guides like also later on in different videos if you guys want. But anyways, basically in Mondstadt, the 2 hypostasis bosses that we have are the Animo and the Electro, and honestly, they're very low difficulty, so I don't really see anybody having any trouble with these bosses in any way, shape, or form. Now, in Liyue, we get the Geo hypostasis, and honestly, I feel out of any other field bosses that this is one of the harder ones, and the reason being is because you're stuck with the mechanic of having to deal damage to these structures to be able to do damage to the geohypostasis. Now, some people could get around it, especially with a bow user or a catalyst user. You could actually hit the hypostasis or the geohypostasis when it's on these platforms and still be perfectly fine. However, I think that the main goal is to get rid of those because you get a longer stun time on them. So definitely would say out of those 3, the geohypostasis is a winner. The Dragon Spine hypostasis, which was the cryo hypostasis, was one with a little fun mechanic where you get its HP low enough, and then it goes into this little shield mode, and then it throws these balls, and you have to hit the balls into the cryo hypostasis to get rid of the shield so you can do the last bit of damage. Now, I think that's cool, but honestly, this came out after the geohypostasis, and I would definitely have to say, like, it felt like kind of a step back from the Geo. But it had the same kind of mechanics as the Geo in the sense of scaling the health in some way, shape, or form with a shield. Um, so I would say mainly that might have been more of a test phase for it. Now we get to Inazuma and we have the Pyro Hypostasis, and I feel that the Pyro Hypostasis is probably the hardest, if not a tie between the Geo Hypostasis between the 2. It attacks fast when it has its shield, so you have to be spacey slash in its face constantly. It's making you gauge your distance constantly on that. So I definitely like it for that. And even when you take down a shield, it's still very like, cool, calm, collected. It's not a big deal. So I would definitely have to say that the Pyrohypostasis is probably the best blend of attack and defense. So already Inazuma point one, Pyrohypostasis I think is harder than the Geohypostasis. If you don't agree with me, let me know in the comments below. But even the Geohypostasis, I will say if Pyro doesn't beat it, it's a tie because I feel the Geohypostasis is more annoying than anything. So let's go ahead and get into the Regisvines. The Regisvines are, in my opinion, easy AF. The cryo Regisvine is, literally what everybody meme to do max amount of damage when it comes to bosses. So cryo Regisvine is easy. Pyro Regisvine is literally the same thing. The only reason why I think that people don't go to do excessive amount of damage is because of the fact that water characters are meh at the moment. And I'll be frank, unless you have Tartaglia or Mona, like you're really not doing a crazy amount. I mean, yeah, you could do with Show, but even still, a lot of people don't use the Pyro Regisvine for a lot of boss damage displays. And if I'm wrong, again, please tell me in the comments. So definitely these are, you have the Cryo Regisvine in Mondstadt and you have the Pyro Regisvine in Leeway. So I would definitely say that, it kind of showed how easy these bosses were. And these were part of the first generation. We haven't gotten a new Regisvine yet. So, Oceanid. Oceanid is another boss where I will say kind of kind of aged well. Oceanid is still a balance between annoying and tough. I would say it's tough if you don't have a cryo user. For me, I'm always using Ganyu on Oceanid. So I really don't have to worry about Ganyu like dying, especially if you pair her with Zhongli. But if you've got like normal 4 stars and maybe 1 or 2 5 stars that aren't like meta, this boss is mean. It's very, very mean. So I would definitely have to put him up there when it comes to like not really difficulty but annoying. And a lot of people will be like, "Oh, but Tystra is really not that hard of a boss." Yeah, I know it's not that hard of a boss. The problem is it's just annoying because you have to sit there, you do a wave, and then you do another, and then the platforms go down and it takes forever. Then you do another wave. Sorry. Oh, I'm bored talking about him. He's also boring. Annoying and boring. But anyways, we are getting the Electro Oceanid or whatever you want to call it, the Electronid. So that's gonna be cool. I would definitely say Oceanid out of all the Mondstadt bosses. Or no. He's a Leeway boss. Never mind. I'm dumb. Out of all the Leeway bosses, I would say he's definitely not as hard as the Geo Hypostasis, and I wouldn't put him against or put him above the Primo Geova shape. Now, let's talk about the Primo Geova shape because that's our next boss. I liked it as a concept, and its difficulty is actually very good. Now, bear in mind, Primo Geova shape came in later in Liyue, so this isn't a Gen 1 day 1 boss. This is a like I would say Gen 3 type of boss in the sense. Cuz I think if I remember correctly, Primo Geova shape came after the cryo hypostasis. If I am wrong, I apologize, but the difficulty on this boss is insane. Like, not only when you go into it, you don't know what typing until you see it that you're going to be facing. Its attacks are different with each typing, and I love it. I think that that's a wonderful idea. It was a great it's a great boss to fight in my personal opinion. So definitely will say that the Primo Geova shape is a good scale between difficulty and you know when it comes to like annoyance because it's not really annoying, but it's got good difficulty to it. It's a fun boss in my opinion, so I like it. There's one that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, and that's the perpetual mechanic array. Mechanic. We're gonna call him the preppy boy. Now, preppy boy Preppy Boy is probably in my personal opinion the most difficult boss in Inazuma. Like, it's brand new. It's basically just machinery, and you have to deal with its constant slew of attacks. The stunning mechanic, you could get the stun, but even then, like, you stun it, and then when it heals up, it's ready to start attacking again. Its attacks are very like, it'll shoot up into the air, you can't touch it, and then it drops down, or it does some very screwy stuff. When it goes into its shield state, it's gonna ah, sorry guys. Woo. It's gonna summon four of the what are they called? The Ruin Sentinels? Yeah, Ruin Sentinels. So it's gonna summon four Ruin Sentinels. One of them you have to kill. When you kill that one, it goes into its stun state, and then you can just wipe the floor with it. I have a very easy time with this boss now. When I first battled it, if you watched my stream when Inazuma dropped on twitch.tv/Setsu, man, was I struggling. I found it at random. And that's the funny thing, is that I was just exploring, and then I was like, oh, hey, I found how to get to the boss. Cool, let's go check it out. And that thing whipped my butt so bad. So bad. So I will definitely say that the perpetual mechanic array is like, is that what it's called? Let me double check. Mechanical array. Mechanical, not mechanic. It's not fixing stuff, Tystra. Come on now. The perpetual mechanical array is definitely, in my opinion, the harder of the bosses. Now, people might say, like, even Magu Genki is harder, but I disagree. Magu Genki came out with the Golden Apple Archipelago for Klee's story. If you guys weren't there for it, that's when they introduced the summer skins for Jean and Barbara, and we had this whole area to explore. Honestly, that event was super fun. Please, please, Mihoyo, bring it back. Now, I will definitely say that Magu Genki is a fun boss, but I will say that also, if if you time it just right with him, it's not as difficult as people may think. I will say that it is more difficult than the pyro hypostasis, but okay, I will say this: Inazuma bosses are harder than Mondstadt and Liyue. Don't at me. Even harder than cryo hypostasis, obviously, but I will say that the Inazuma bosses in general, their scaling of difficulty has matched what we've gotten for characters in Liyue and Mondstadt. Now, you may be going, "Oh, well, what do you mean by that?" Think about it. The 5 stars that we've gotten, like Ganyu, Zhongli, Hu Tao, Tartaglia, all these characters that have been massive damage outputters have been scaled because of these bosses, in my personal opinion. Now, granted, again, for veteran players like myself, these bosses are not super difficult. However, as a veteran player, I will say that these bosses have gotten more difficult as time has gone on, which is fantastic. Speaking of which, we also got the 4 bosses of, the weekly bosses. Dvalin. Dvalin's still difficult, but that's only, in my opinion, the only reason why it's difficult is because you're doing it by yourself. And even then, it's not really difficult anymore because, bow users have gotten so overpowered. You could use Ganyu, Yoimiya. You could even use Diona and be perfectly fine. Um, it's all about getting that stun off and then outputting all your damage in one fell swoop. The only mechanic that gets me, and I hate it, is flying between the bridges. It's a cool mechanic. It really is. But God, it's annoying. Now, Boreas. Boreas is still one of those ones that I love to play around with because you get that 10 seconds of hurting it, and then it does this little, like, I'm gonna get you, spinning around in a circle. And then you're just like, well, you're just gonna stand still for the rest of this. So, Boreas, I wouldn't say is hard. It just has a lot of damage output, and if you don't have a shielder, you're gonna feel it. Child now. Child is definitely one of those ones that a lot of people have fun with. I think that Child is a very cool 3-stage boss. I think that that's how it should be, and with Signora coming out, I definitely feel that that's something that people need to, consider, is that Signora is going to be kind of like how Child is when it comes to stage after stage after stage. So I can't wait. And then Azdaha is the hardest of the 4. I don't care what anybody says. Azdaha is ridiculous for me. And I don't know why I have such a hard time with Azdaha. But for me, I'm always having a hard time dealing with him. He's difficult, and I like it. I like having a hard time with these bosses. So, but I would say, if anything, out of all 4 of the weekly bosses until Signora comes out, Azdaha takes the cake, and then the hardest of the field bosses, in my personal opinion, would definitely have to be the Perpetual Mechanical Array. Now, again, we're getting more bosses. We're getting, a Hydro Hypostasis. We're getting Signora, obviously, and I think we're getting we're getting the Electro Oceanid hybrid thing. So my opinions might change, and that's fine. But I would definitely have to say that those 2 bosses right now are the hardest of their categories. Now, let me know if you agree. If there's something that I missed with these bosses, let me know in the comments below. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. And as always, guys, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to entertain you. We will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.